Wildfire212 says, y'all mind giving a background on what y'all are talking about? Would love to chime in on this.
Ah, sweet. So what is it? Wildfire?
Yeah, Wildfire212.
Wildfire212. So, in our first video, we were asked a question by a viewer, Justin, and Justin said how to ask the right questions. And Justin was asking this because he was, I guess, speaking. He wants to get better at asking questions to managers when he starts working. So that's what we are tackling. And so far, just to summarize really quickly again, we got 3 different criterias for asking the right question. Or how to ask the right questions. One is knowing who you're asking or how you're getting your resources, right? Is that the first one?
Mm-hmm, the resources.
The resources. The second is knowing the objective to why you're asking the question. And then the third is leave the question open-ended. Not a yes or no answer, but open-ended, so the person receiving the question is able to think and really challenge their own thoughts instead of just giving you a one-word answer, which usually does not give you a lot of information, because that's the purpose of asking a question, is to receive information. So that's what we covered so far. Unfortunately, we didn't get a win, but we're going to continue into another game of duos and we'll continue the conversation. Cool?
Yeah, that was good background.
Let's do it. Ready up. Backner, what were you saying before about, like, can you continue what you were
Yeah, sorry. So, when I think back to the best questions that I was asked, when I say best questions, I think of the most memorable questions that I remember the most, and those are ones that make me, and this is going to be more for you know, when you are having discussions with managers, or someone that you respect, and you know, you want to build some kind of connection with them. The best questions are ones that are somewhat emotional. Not fully emotional, right? Like you don't have to make someone cry every time you talk to them, but questions that have an element and have room for emotional input.
I got it.
Yeah. So you really have to sense out the situation. You know, whoever it is you're speaking to, you have to feel it out and say, okay, well, let me use my critical thinking and try to figure out how am I going to touch this person? You know, how am I going to get this person to really think? Not necessarily ask them something that they've never heard before or they never thought about before, but something that is insightful, that'll engage them, something engaging. And that piece is subjective because everyone's interested in different things, right?
So what I didn't understand what you were talking about in the last game was when you were saying how the best questions are the ones that you haven't fleshed out, like you know the answers to. That's what caught me. Like you knew the answers to, but you didn't flesh out. I wanted you to elaborate on that.
Yeah. So what I mean by that is, it's kind of like let's say I'm talking to a manager and I ask the manager, you know, what are your thoughts? Actually, let me think about a specific example.
Okay, think about it first. No need to rush.
Bet. Okay, I see the post, Captain Wolf. Let me just share this example, and then I'll read your post to Darren. So, this past summer, working in consulting, a very common question that I found myself asking people out of my curiosity was, and not just consulting, but in every industry, I think it's good to think about this, and that is, how are the skills that you're applying on the day-to-day basis in your job going to influence yourself as a person? And basically what I mean by that is, how are you taking the work that you're doing, making it transferable to your everyday life, and using that to make you a better person? And what I find is, from all ranges, whether I'm asking very junior people, you know, analysts, or very senior people, MDs or managers. Usually what I get is, you know, silence first, because you got to think about it. But they usually talk a lot about the soft skills. No one's going to talk about, oh, I hard coded this, I wrote a macro, and or, you know, nothing really technical. It's all soft skills. It's, you know, I was in a meeting one day, and so and so happened, and, you know, I was at my family get together and someone brought up politics, and it reminded me of that. So I, you know, just an example of something that could happen. So questions like that, they are kind of emotional, because I'm asking you to, we should get moving, by the way. I'm asking you to think about you personally. Personally, how are you able to transfer the skills that you're picking up on the job into your personal life, and how are they useful? And if you've even thought about it, and if you haven't, I'm asking you to think about it now. Excuse me. So that to me is a good question. And I mean, not to sound arrogant, but I do think it's a good question, because it is open-ended. It is something that enables you to respond emotionally if you want to. You could not. You could say something. You could say, you know, and I've gotten this answer, like planning-wise, time management, which aren't really unique answers, because everyone gets time management skills from working, no matter what industry you're in, unless
So
no,
follow up
industry.
to this before I forget.
Yeah.
So you can ask the right questions, but you might not receive the right answers. Like, you might receive a one-worded answer, and it's not because you asked the wrong question or the way you asked it. Maybe because the person didn't think enough, or they just didn't know how to answer. I think there's a difference between thinking you asked the right question and like asking. What am I saying? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, but I do think that it is important to distinguish asking the right question and asking a good question, because asking the right question means you're asking an optimal question. And when I say optimal, it means you're asking something that... And when I say efficient, I mean efficient or optimal, same thing to me. The most efficient or the optimal question is the question that gets you the information that you're looking for, and it does it as quickly as possible. But that first part is so subjective, the information that you're looking for. So that's why I'm kind of guiding what I'm saying more to good questions rather than the right questions. Because if you're asking a good question, then you're probably going to get the information that you want and more.
Alright, we gotta head in, bro. Watch the storm.
Oh yeah, I wasn't paying attention.
Have a medkit.
Same. Okay, Captain Wolf, I'm gonna read your questions.
Yeah,
Okay. Let me scroll up, because this guy. Oh, whoa. Posted a lot. My opinion on how to ask the right questions is to frame your question in a way that sets a platform for whoever is answering the question to be able to share all their knowledge on the topic. An example would be asking an interviewer in a finance interview to share about their own success stories because they love talking about themselves.
So that was one of the points that I wanted. Oh, there's people shooting. Southwest.
Okay, hold on. There's more.
Oh my god, I died. I got sniped.
Okay, let me read the comment. I don't have a long range weapon. I'll try to get to you though.
Build, yeah.
Dang, how'd I get sniped?
Oh, he's coming. West. Just take care of them first. Forget about it. That was such a rookie move, how I just beat that up. Bro, I have a heavy shotgun and a bazooka. Oh, rip that.
I got a minigun.
Rip that. Oh, gosh. Where is that guy?
Oh, there's multiple of them. They're fighting. Here, can you come down?
Alright, yeah, I'm coming.
Stay there.
Alright, get me up.
Okay, so when you put them in a situation / provide a platform... Oh, hold on, someone's right here on us. As soon as they start shooting, I'm gonna switch to my shotgun.
Go, they're hitting up.
Oh, hold on. Don't let
Up
the.
there.
He's gonna edit. He's gonna edit. That's you, bro. You shot my
Yes.
my ramp down.
Oh, that was yours?
Yeah.
That was his. Alright, I need to kill up.
Wait, where is this guy?
I don't know, but I'm like
Oh, I
3
see him.
seconds. I need 3 more seconds. Alright, bang. Where is he?
Right here.
Got him! Sorry, I took
Yeah.
your kill.
That's fine.
Scar, you can take the Scar.
I need this med kit. Alright, sorry. Back to what I was reading. When you put them in a situation or provide a platform where they are knowledgeable about the topic and can go on for hours talking about it, that's how you know you've asked the right question. Okay, hold on. Let me see if there's more. Let's just get out of here. Oh, someone threw a
Oh gosh.
boogie bomb.
It's on the other side.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
right
we
here.
gotta go. We gotta go. Storm's coming in, bro. We're gonna die. Oh, we got him.
Haha, that was fun. Someone shooting you?
Oh gosh, what the heck, Darren? How did you not get him? Oh, I'm almost dead. I'm dead. Dang it. Good shit. Keep going. Can you read the first part of that person's question, comment again?
Yeah, just give me a second. Let me just get
Yeah.
here and squat down. So my opinion on how to ask the right question is to frame your question in a way that sets a platform for whoever is answering the question to be able to share all their knowledge on the topic. Be able to share, okay? An example would
So
be
that
asking...
goes to the resources part that we were talking about, like knowing like who to ask, like the correct resource to ask the question.
So yeah, you're
Alright,
right.
so keep
It is an element of having the resource. And they gave the example, Captain Wolf gave the example of...
a finance interview, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, a finance interview to share about their own success stories because people love talking about themselves.
Oh, that was what I wanted to bring up. Like the point of asking a question so that person talks about themselves, because I mean it's proven that people love talking about themselves because I guess they're an expert about themselves. They know the right things to say because it's about them, and they can't be wrong because again it's about them. So I guess my follow-up question is a good question a question that oh, right there, underneath.
I see him.
Does it have to be a question that is about that person? You got him? Let's go!
Oh.
Oh, bruh. Chill out. You got minis?
I drank the 2 that I had already. Oh, they're gonna rush me.
Where are they at? Oh,
Right here.
God. Oh, nah, it's over. Psych! It's not over yet.
Oh!
Oh, it might.
Oh my god! Ooh. Okay, sorry, what were you saying?
Shoot. Oh, it's about like making someone talk about themselves, right? I think a
Yeah.
good question is also one that makes sure that that person starts like, I guess all the good questions, if you're looking for good answers, they usually end up talking about themselves, right? Or like their experience. So my follow-up question is a good question or the right question, does that always have to lead to that person talking about themselves?
No, because then what we're saying is that, and I was careful with this earlier, when saying that a good question has an element of emotion, because you could be asking a good question, and it could be a very technical question. You know, you could ask the right question, and you have a coding problem, for example, and you just need help
and
with
they'll just
syntax.
tell you how to do it.
Yeah. Those could be good questions, but they're not emotional at all. You're not going to tell a life story when you're helping someone, you know, write an if statement.
Wait, so we basically concluded what a good question is. A good question is one that you can get to your information, like you said, efficiently and like
What's
the quickest,
efficient mean?
right?
What does efficient mean?
Like quick. And
I
like,
think efficient. There's a formula for efficiency.
oh
Or
yeah,
most
go
efficient.
ahead.
Most efficient. It's speed plus accuracy. So if something is very it's the quickest possible outcome, and it's the most desired outcome, most accurate outcome, then it's efficient. It's optimal. The most efficient.
Yep.
Okay, so continues are the criteria.
So let's summarize again.
Okay.
Criteria is really quick. Is how to ask the right questions. 1, knowing your resources and who to ask.
Right.
2, knowing the objective of your question. What are you trying to get out of? Because if you don't know what you're trying to get out of, there's no reason for you to ask the question. 3, by the way, these are the criterias that we like thought about. It's not like anything that's set in stone. 3,
Right.
I think a good question is one that is open-ended and one that makes the person receiving the question think about his or her answer before answering. If you ask a question that can be answered yes or no, maybe you need to think back to how you're asking the question and reword it differently, so you leave the person receiving the question ability to expand on his or her thoughts. That's
Right.
open-ended. And then, what number am I on?
4 now.
4?
Yeah.
4, like you said, appealing to someone's emotions. Is that it? Is that what we have so far?
I think so.
Just
Alright,
those 4?
Yeah, I just posted the 4 in the chat. So if anyone in the chat has an additional criteria and or anything that they think shouldn't be there or worded differently, please let us know. And
Got it.
Captain Wolf says, question for you guys. If you know for a fact talking to person A will benefit you and provide value to you, but you begin talking to them and they seem annoyed / uninterested in the conversation, do you continue with the conversation?
So that's more of like a EQ thing. It's more of like knowing your surrounding and knowing how the person is feeling. And to be honest, like how I approach those situations, because I do see myself sometimes, like I get a little antsy and I keep asking questions and so on and so on, and maybe I could feel the vibe a little bit of like the person like is a little annoyed maybe because I'm like asking too much, or because when you meet someone for the first time especially, like they don't expect to like be challenged as much, you know? It's more of like a friendly thing, like a hi and bye thing. They don't expect someone to really like challenge their thoughts, and you know, it's like it's not like a normal thing to do.
Right.
At least to my experience. Like no one really expects to have like a full out conversation about you, like picking their brains or something. But if you do end up in that situation where you're feeling some sort of like off vibe, I guess maybe just notice it really quickly, like try to see it out and then step back a little bit, like have that person like talk more instead of you asking questions, and really like switch up the topic, like throw in a joke here and there and like brighten up the mood a little bit, because people want to just have friendly conversations. And if you see that you're annoying someone or you think you're annoying someone, just throw in like a joke or two in there and like let the conversation like naturally flow, because there's no reason to like force someone to answer a question, because like if they're forcing it, chances are they're not going to give you like the best answer or like the answer that like you're looking for.
Right.
So that's my advice on that.
All right, let's get in this game. Let's win this one. This one.
Let's win this one. Let's end it with a W.
Anyone else has any other questions or insight and honestly, the insight is a lot more valuable than the questions, because what you're doing is helping us answer the questions. It doesn't just have to
Yeah.
be mine and Darren's thoughts. It can be everyone's thoughts put together. But the only way we can get that is if you share in the comments.